Welcome to another edition of Scott Wheeler's Airplay. This is episode number 24, airing right now on Facebook Live at Peoria Life. You can also check out this episode and future episodes at PeoriaLife.com, Facebook, Peoria Life's YouTube channel, and Peoria TV, channel 17 on the i3 broadband system. I'm Scott Wheeler from Super Hits WIRL, and this is Airplay, where we go behind the scenes to get to know different people that are on the radio and television in the Peoria area. My guests today, longtime friends at WCIC. They were originally put together to do the afternoon show, and as often happens, before they knew it, they were getting up at 4 a.m., replacing the long-running Jill and Jeremy Tracy Mornings with the Tracy Show on 91.5 WCIC, so I wanted to check in with them early to see how it was going. It's Brian and Janine from WCIC. Welcome, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, Scott. Right. Thanks for having us.
You bet. So the important questions first. Nap or no nap?
That's a daily choice.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Me.
Yeah. So like many things in life, Scott, it's a choice, right?
It is, yeah.
I've done it a few times, been able to actually somehow go to sleep that night. That was my biggest concern,
Yes.
right? You go down and then you can't get back there. But so far, somehow, it's working out.
And I bet you don't have time.
Well, I was going to say, you know me, I'm usually pretty busy and try to keep the day going. But if there's going to be a big event at night, that's when I take a nap.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always had to.
Yes.
You'll see in about 10 years. So talk to me about, I want to hear from each of you on your journey that brought you to WCIC.
Yeah.
Like so many people, myself included, you start as a listener. And some people are fortunate enough to end up on staff.
Right.
So Brian, let's start with you. The journey that took you in the path that ended up at 4 a.m. on the morning show at WCIC.
Hey, how about that? Yeah. No, Scott, it was back in 2008. Actually, tough part of life, going through some really tough stuff, and ended up hearing this song on the radio called Dive by Stephen Curtis Chapman, you know, and wouldn't you know, it was WCIC. And man, somehow God used that song in my life just to be able to kind of stir something up. And it took a while for me to kind of get it, but it's like, hey, there's this God and he loves me a lot. But ended up working at WCIC part-time back in 2016. Met with Dave Brooks, the station manager there, and had a little lunch at Chick-fil-A and just hung out, and wasn't a job open or anything, but caught on part-time. And it was about a year later, back in the summer of 17, I was working for the state, had been there for about 10 years. And Jeremy Tracy, the former program director, as you mentioned there, former morning host, I was in his office and he looks at me and he said, "Are you comfortable?" And I didn't know what to do, Scott. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, yes, no. Should I be? I don't know. Yes, no. I got to go. And so I left and had a lot of time to think and pray. And there was just a whole summer of that at my house because they were offering me the opportunity to look into the afternoon show job at the time. And that's kind of how it ended up going, and ended up jumping on board there. And it's been really cool ever since. Started full-time in August of 17, so it's been just over 2 years at the radio station.
Are you from this area originally?
I grew up in Chatham, which is near Springfield. Went to Bradley, though. So Bradley
Go
guy.
Rays.
Yeah, so this is like my second time around the Peoria area. So yeah, it's good to be back. Been back in the state since about 2007.
Okay.
So yes, it's back home. My parents still live in Chatham, about an hour and 20 from here. So yeah.
All right, Janine, your path?
Oh my goodness, I feel like I have kind of a crazy path. So I started off as a high school speech and English teacher, and decided I did that for like 5 years, and then wanted to stay at home with the kids once they were born. And when my daughter Hope was born in 1997, my older brother Danny is the one who introduced me to WCIC. I was just listening to good old rock and roll at the time, you know, very much an 80s girl. And he's like, yeah, now that you have a little one, I think you should start listening to this station. I'm like, okay. So I did, and I fell in love with it. So here I am, stay-at-home mom, and I've got this radio station. And I'm telling you what, like, I grew up in a family that I went to church all my life. So I knew church, but I really didn't have a relationship with God. But somehow between the music on the radio station and then getting involved with some other girlfriends and like doing Bible study, like actually reading the Bible, which is something I hadn't done before, this whole new thing came to life. And that's when I really began a relationship with God. And so the radio station's always been a big part of that. And so I listened for a while, and then came the second child, and the kids are singing the songs and all this. Well, in about 2004, they had this Christmas open house. And I'm like, hey kids, you want to go meet everybody we listen to on the radio station? And so we did. And Jill and Jeremy Tracy are there, and they were brand new at the time. And I'm drinking hot chocolate with them. And the next thing I know, it's like 2 hours later. And Jeremy's like,
Your kids are like, Mom, enough of the open
Are we
house.
allowed to leave?
I mean, when I was a kid, my nickname was Loudmouth Lime because I just talk a lot. So Jeremy says, you have to come back. And that's really how it started, if you want to call that my interview. I feel like it was, because I just started doing little things at that point, little on-air kind of spot things. And then I started volunteering there. And Jeremy was doing the afternoon show by himself at the time, and he wanted like a female presence, So he invited, there were 3 of us gals, and we started this thing.
That's what I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
It
What
was
it
called the Mom Squad.
That's right.
And so, yes. So we started the Mom Squad. And basically, he would ask us a question and get our opinions as moms. So it was kind of fun, and it was just very natural for me to talk on a mic, I guess. So he said, I just was there and doing it, and so it was really fun. And so I started off as a volunteer at the radio station, officially became an employee in 2007.
Wow. Okay.
So there's my little path.
That is a journey. So, Brian, you and I should switch here today because you did some TV along the way.
I did.
On this journey. So that must have been between 2008 and 2016, right?
I tell you, yeah, leading up to that, actually. So after I graduated from Bradley, went into broadcast and did TV for about 8 years.
Really? Doing what?
Did some news reporting and then news anchoring. I anchored a morning show for a few years. And so it's funny, we joke, because the morning show that I do now for the radio station, I'm actually getting up about 2 hours later. So this is no problem for me.
Okay, I'll trust you on that.
I had to get up at like 2:45, and that was a whole different animal.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I did TV. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was a fun job, fun career. Probably the highlight was getting to report out in Hurricane Charlie.
That was the highlight. That was a highlight.
In Myrtle Beach.
Okay, so you're a storm chaser, are
Yeah,
you?
I was one of those people that are out there, when the storm's coming, and you're just like, don't go outside.
Like me.
Right.
I get it when you see it. It's somewhat disingenuous. Like, don't do what I do. But had a blast doing it. It was me and a guy from Minnesota who was the videographer. 2 Midwestern guys out there reporting on a hurricane that we had no idea what we were talking about.
So this was in Florida?
South Carolina.
South
Myrtle
Carolina,
Beach.
okay.
And yeah, so just being able to experience that and go out and the adrenaline rush, I gotta say, is I get why people do it. I know it's easy
this
to make
morning
fun of it.
he was watching a video of some footage from the Bahamas, and here's me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these poor people. He's like, dude, I want to be there. I mean, he's
Squall line.
Yeah, when people are getting out of those hurricane areas, like I want to be
Crazy.
in there on the coast reporting because it's a blast. But anyway, TV was a lot of fun. Left TV, and like I said, did government for about 10 to 11 years, and just never really knew if I'd be able to get back into broadcast. And so when this opportunity came up, I was like, cool, man, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're my hero. You went, instead of going from radio to TV like so many do, you went the other way.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I love it, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely love doing radio.
So every time I've had a duo on, I've talked to them about the concept of chemistry and how important it is. You can have all the, you can have the great voice, you can have the production skills, you can have the organization, but if you don't have chemistry where you get along, it's really hard to do. It can be done. You guys obviously have chemistry. But does that play a role, do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Janine can't stand me.
She is your own
This guy.
We don't.
She's your personal hurricane.
It definitely helps to be able to get along and to be able to have so much
very
fun.
important.
I think we both just really love what we do.
I think so too. I was going to say that's the first thing is we both just share such a similar passion to share God's love. And it just is like the most important thing to us. We're like there's this cool role with this microphone in this WCIC studio where you are like in between the songs that are being played and the people who are hearing them, and you get to do just a little bit of a connect, whether it's sharing something from our personal life, the different journeys that we've been on, or just maybe like explaining the song a little bit more. There's just different ways you can do it. But it's an honor to be able to be there and be a part of that. Then I think the other thing that we share is that we both have this, like, we want everybody to feel included, and we want everybody to feel loved, and we want everybody to know how much God loves them. Like, that's really important to us, because I think we've both walked through parts of our lives where we didn't feel that. And I'm like, I don't ever want anybody to feel that. Like, I want you to know it's real. That's very, very important to me.
The grace that comes with knowing him.
Yeah.
And that's something that's meant so much in my life. It means something to me right now as I sit here talking with you. And being able to share that, that was one of the hardest things for me when I first got to know him, was like, there's no way that you'd want me for anything. Like, you don't, I get it. Like, I've done enough. I've messed up enough times. And he's so shown me otherwise, and there's nothing cooler to me than being able to share that with other people, and to be able to say, you know what, man, wherever you've been, whatever you've done, he loves you. And I think we just truly love sharing that message in the small little way that you and I get to do something really cool for him.
And here's the other thing. I always say, I love to have fun, and he's funny. So he brings the funny, and I love to have fun, and somehow that just works really well together. So it's been a blast.
Good.
Yeah.
Work doesn't feel like work. That's another thing. I tell my kids this, I said, you may not ever have like the perfect job, but man, when work doesn't feel like work, you found yourself a good job.
Absolutely.
There we go.
So I can ask you this because I know you guys well enough. I have been in your position before where you step into a long-running, successful morning show, and you have to deal with comparisons.
Yeah,
it's just a part of it. And I know you have tremendous respect for Jill and
Of
Jeremy,
course.
as
Goodness.
do I.
He's the one who gave me my job.
Absolutely, yeah. So has that been hard, and have you done, how do you deal with it?
Well, I tell you what was nice was just actually, and Dave, hope you don't mind me sharing this, but the day that Jill and Jeremy actually left, Dave Brooks, the station manager, had us in his office, and his talk was just, be you, and go be what you are. Jill and Jeremy were Jill and Jeremy, and they were amazing. And there's no way that I have any expectation to be anything close to what they were. They've been something so good to this ministry, to this community. I'm just glad to get to be in the building, truthfully. But that freedom to just be what I am, to be what you are, to your question, I guess I haven't felt that, only because it was not made to feel that way.
Right,
if that makes sense.
It really has been helpful. And I think the other thing that we've done is we've looked at their show, and man, they had so many great things. We're like, well, let's not mess that up. And so it's kind of taking some of the components that have worked really well and putting the Brian and Janine twist on it. And so, like the game, for instance, they had a long-running game called He Said, She Said. And it was, they were known for it. It was something they did. And we're like, okay, so we know we want to do a game, and we want to do it every day at this time. But let's put our twist on it. And so we've come up with this thing called What's That Word? Have you heard of it?
I have heard it.
Would you like to play?
Sure.
You're gonna put them on the
I think
spot?
we should play today. What do you think? I think we should play.
Oh,
okay.
boy.
All right, so Scott Wheeler, your 3 clues are skinny.
That doesn't go with Scott Wheeler.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's back it up for a minute. Brian better explain how the game is played.
So you get,
It has nothing to do with
Blonde, 6'4", full head of hair.
Brian, help me out.
where's the bell? Where's the bell? So yes, so you get
gosh.
3 clues, and each one of those has there's one word in common. So she's gonna give you 3 clues. You have to guess the one word that all 3 have in common.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, so
And
let's start over.
Start fresh.
Magnificently handsome.
Okay, skinny,
Okay.
blue, mom. Skinny, blue, mom.
What's that word?
Is there one thing those 3 words could all
know.
have in common?
Do you know it?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Well, that's a close runner-up.
Help me out. Jeans.
Jeans.
we go.
Mom jeans, skitty jeans, blue jeans.
There you go.
Yes.
See,
That's a great
He's got
game.
It is so fun.
Yeah.
It's been cool because we've had some folks call and say, the one person was playing with his fiance every morning. They kind of go back and forth to see who can get it first. There was another guy who's bouncing it off a friend of his who actually doesn't know God at all, and so it's kind of his little way to talk about the station and the ministry. And there's been a kid that called and trying to get
I've heard a mom say, like, I share it every night at the dinner table. Let's see if everybody can guess it. So
yeah.
And
your daughter shares it with her coworkers.
the people, and then my brother, who introduced me to the station, so he's always a part of this journey. He's like, the fun thing about it is you introduce those 3 clues, and then we play 2 songs. And he said, all of us, even if we're not calling in to play it, we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out. So
Work your brain at 7-Eleven every morning. Why not?
I think we all need the help. Right? Got to get going.
We're talking with Brian Williamsen and Janine Fairchild from 91.5 WCIC, recently named to the morning show on that great station. Getting to know them a little bit better this morning. So I know beyond doing the morning show, you each have other responsibilities at the station.
The off-air job.
Yes, it's not foreign out the door, as they used to say. So tell us a little bit about what else you do there, Janine.
Sure. I have the honor of working with businesses who support our nonprofit ministry. So we're listener supported and we're business supported. And I'm just smiling with standing here with Scott because he helped me with so much of this when I first started in that role in 2008. So a lot of it is different businesses who reach out to support the station, and we're so grateful for that. And so I take care of that relationship and getting the on-air component where they get to be thanked for supporting WCIC. And then I also get the fun job that Scott used to do. And when he left, he's like, here, you get to do this now. And I'm like,
uh-oh.
Which is working with concert promoters.
There you go.
So,
Sorry.
yeah. So, I mean, there's, fun in that, and there's challenges in that. And right now we have so many concerts coming to the area, too. So it's really, really fun, including Toby Mac in November. So really excited about that. So,
That's a full plate.
There you go. That's kind of what I do.
And what about you, Brian?
Among other things, doing the Facebook page and such for the station and Instagram. Do a show called Community Matters, which airs on Saturday mornings at 5:45. And that's actually really neat because we get to talk with some different folks, whether it's locally, statewide, even nationally, about, you pick it, an issue that's facing the community. So wide range of topics, wide range of thoughts and conversations with that. It's about a 15-minute conversation, similar to what we're having here today. And I really enjoy that a lot. And then on top of that, just as you know, the radio station has some governmental regulations, and so
duties as assigned.
The things making sure we're cool with the FCC and all the rest. But the days fly by.
Yeah, I bet.
Seriously.
So back to the chemistry thing.
Okay.
What's something you really like about him?
I love Brian's humility. He just, God is always first in his life, and he communicates that in such a real way. There's another thing I like, just very real and authentic about his faith and the journey, and how you can go through so many tough things, but God loves you through all of it. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with when you've done stuff in your life. But he doesn't act like he has a chip on his shoulder about any of it. He's like, I did it. I know I've done things, but God is good and he has forgiven me. And so that, I mean, his sense of humor is a lot of fun too. Because I mean, who doesn't want to start their day if you're gonna have to do it at 5:30 in the morning, laughing?
Let's have a good time.
This is great. This is great. Brian brings the party. So that's fun too.
All right, unfair. You've had a little bit of time to think about it. But what
I wasn't
do you?
mentally taking notes at all. No.
How about Janine? What
No,
do you
I mean,
really appreciate about
well,
her?
I mean, a couple of things. I mean, for sure, just the way that she seeks after God with everything. I've mentioned this before to Dave, and Janine's prayer life and the way that she just fervently prays for people in her life, for what she's facing in her life, and the way that she takes that to God first is inspirational to me and a challenge to me too to do that even more. But at the same time too, just the way that you invest in people, that the people in Janine's life know that Janine's caring for them because of the effort, the thoughtfulness that you put into it. Just hearing how you talk about your kids and just, that genuine love and concern that she has for people is, it's really cool.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to have to do part 2 because we're out of time.
Oh my goodness, just like that.
Yeah, it goes like
It
that.
does.
It's like the day at the
We
radio
get people together who like to talk. And
Yeah,
this is what happens, right?
yeah. We'll have the show after the show.
Oh,
here in a minute. This has been Airplay on Peoria Life's Facebook page. You can also view it on their YouTube channel and Peoria TV channel 17 on the i3 broadband system. If you're on the go, it's available on Apple Podcasts as well. Airplay will air again next Tuesday around this time. Until then, thanks for watching.
PeoriaLife.com